My name is Ojelade Oluwaseun Christiana from Federal University of Agriculture, Aquaculture, Nigeria. At the webinar network today, I'll be presenting fish welfare and sustainable aquaculture, two sides of the same coin. In the course of this presentation, this is the outline that will be guiding my presentation in the process of this. Introduction. Fish, as we all know, is an aquatic animal. It serves as food for a lot of people. Over millions of households make use of fish as a good source of food because it contains a high quality protein and it supplies a nutritious and healthy diet. Beyond being using fish as food, it serves several other socioeconomic benefits, one of which is the fact that it generates a good source of income for relatively a number of people. It improves livelihood and generates a good source of employment for several people that are within the fish farm sector. Going further to the economic part of having fish, it's a good source of foreign exchange earning when you transport your fish or export it for one reason or the other. Beyond all these socioeconomic benefits that we have talked about, fish also have several other benefits that are also embedded in its use. It can be used as experimental animals. Someone like me will always use fish for one research or the other. Then a lot of hospitals, schools are recommending having aquarium, which is also a good way to ease some stress in animal. Also, fish can be used for several other things, as rightly stated. Now, what is the fish welfare in fish? What is fish welfare in fish? Fish is an important animal that does not live in the terrestrial environment. It is an aquatic animal. So it becomes an important thing for us to make sure that the water in which they inhabit has a lot of good things that they can benefit from it. For instance, fish will pass the waste product from their body into the water. It will release all unwanted substances from its body into the same water whereby their feed will be supplied, meaning that that water in which they live in is a complicated medium in which we must make sure that the fish ensure access to good welfare in this. What is fish welfare? The presence of positive feelings of pleasure and the absence of strong negative feelings in their rearing environment. Fish, like all other terrestrial animals, should also benefit from the 5 freedoms of animal welfare. Fish must be free from thirst, hunger, and malnutrition. It is becoming so important that how can a fish that lives in water be thirsty again? Definitely a fish can be thirsty. When you are keeping fish in a water that is not healthy or that is not okay for them, definitely they will come to the surface of that water to go up for air. At that point, the fish is thirsty, and when you deprive fish from having their normal ration of feed, then we can say that they are not free from thirst, hunger, and malnutrition. The fish we are talking about should also be free from discomfort, anything that will induce pain or injury. For instance, having a strong or unplanned sound within their rearing environment could instill distress and fear to this fish species we are talking about. And in order to ensure that we have fish welfare, it is important for us to make sure that fish have access to all these 5 freedoms of animal welfare that we are talking about. In addition, fish should also be able to express their normal behavior in their rearing environment. Putting fish in a barren tanks may make them not to exhibit their natural behavior, which is not making them to have a good welfare. When we say fish welfare, it is meeting the physiological, the behavioral, and the health need of fish at every point in time. Now, sustainable aquaculture. Sustainable aquaculture is the practice that meets today's need for fish while also not compromising the future generation. There is an increase in fish on a daily basis. Millions of people are demanding for fish as food and basic livelihood needs. However, it is important that we ensure that this sustainable aquaculture is met without necessarily jeopardizing the future of the fish we have. In most cases, people often think that fish welfare and sustainable aquaculture are it is often seen as separate entities, but they are actually interconnected. There is a big relationship between sustainable aquaculture and fish welfare. There is no sustainable aquaculture that can be achieved without ensuring that the well-being of fish is paramount. Thus, it is important for us to protect the welfare of fish, not only because of animal rights, but to ensure that the future of aquaculture in Africa and globally is secured. The welfare of farm fish is not an option at any time. It is central to achieving sustainable aquaculture system. Understanding the basis of fish welfare. What is fish welfare? When we say fish welfare, what does that suppose to us? Just like every other terrestrial animal, it can be easily seen when a dog is happy. It can be easily seen when a typical terrestrial animal is having issues. It is always easy to dictate that, oh, this animal is feeling fine. But because our fish inhabit a special medium, they inhabit the aquatic medium, whereby it has become almost impossible to dictate what is happening to them at every point in time. That is why it is necessary for us as a fish welfare person to ensure that these fish species are in good point at every point in time. Fish is almost difficult to communicate vocally. They cannot come out and say, oh, I'm happy. They cannot come out and say, oh, something is wrong. But as somebody that is particular about their welfare, there are ways in which we can know that these things are not in adequate condition in their rearing environment. It is also almost impossible to know that the fish are suffering from one thing or the other from their facial or basic body expression. It is difficult to see. But several researchers are researching into the fact that fish are sentient animals. They have the capacity to have the feelings. Some scientists all over the world has also documented it that they have the potential of knowing when something is wrong or bad in their environment. However, we need to know when our fish is happy, we need to know when our fish is angry, and we need to know when our fish is sad. As somebody that knows the basis of fish welfare, you can easily dictate when your fish is happy when you relate well with them. For instance, I am a fish farmer. On getting to my fish pond site, and I get there, the first thing that the fish are supposed to do is to swim happily, dance, and await their feed. They must be ready to accept feed. They should know that when I'm around, I'm there to give them something. But when you're standing beside your pond and nothing is coming out, the fish are swimming sluggishly and hardly have your time, then it's to tell you that something is wrong somewhere, which should be addressed as fast as possible. What are the bases of fish welfare? To maintain a good fish welfare, there are 5 basic domains that we need to look into: the nutrition part, the environment of the fish, the health of the fish, their mental status, and their behavior. All these are things that shaped the welfare of a particular fish. I'll start from the nutrition part of it. A fish should have access to good and quality feed at a very optimum time in their lifetime. The quality of the feed must always be balanced in the fact that we must provide a nutritional balanced feed for our fish at any point in time. Then we should also give our fish the right quantity of feed whenever they demand for this. And another thing, there must also be an efficient delivery system for our fish. For instance, a research was carried out which is titled Unpredictable Feeding Patterns Modulate the Growth Rate, Hematological and Behavioral Response of African Fatfish. The fish were subjected to 3 different treatments. In some fish were exposed to early unpredictable feeding, some were subjected to late unpredictable feeding, and some were fed at normal time. The first behavioral thing that was observed during the study was the fact that the feed anticipatory behavior of the fish, of those that were exposed to unpredictable feeding patterns, were affected. They were not expecting feed at that point in time, so they were not feeding properly. And definitely when a fish is not feeding properly, at the end of the day, it will alter their growth rate. In terms of behavior, the fish became aggressive, and aggression rate was also higher in the treatment that were fed at unpredictable feeding time during the day. It also affected their hematological profile. Don't forget that we said fish welfare is meeting the physiological and behavioral need of fish at every point in time. Also, the quantity of feed matters when we are feeding our fish. There is a particular fish farmer who was always feeding the fish. He was just pouring an irregular quantity of feed at each point in time. He was not bothered about the amounts or giving the appropriate amount. At the end of the culture period, the man was ready to harvest his pond. He brought in different buyers to come and buy the fish. By the time they would harvest from the pond, it was only one big fish that was in the water. The fish had consumed each other. Cannibalism had set in, and it was only one big fish that was in the pond at the end of the day. So it is necessary to ensure good quantity of feed and the right quality at each point in time. Also, in terms of the environment of fish, the environment of the fish is the water quality of that very environment in which they find themselves. When the water quality is poor, the fish will definitely show signs of distress. The fish will not be happy in their rearing environment. They will come to the surface of the water to gasp for air, and it will also affect this fish. So as a person that is ready to maintain the fact that the welfare of the fish must be optimum at each point in time, the quality of the water is central to everything that will follow it. Also, in addition to maintaining good environment for the fish, there should be some environmental structures that will make the fish to believe that they are in their natural environment. Fish in their natural environment have several structures that they can hold on to. They have several structures in which they can play with. But keeping them in a barren tank that does not have so many of these facilities will hinder them from having that fifth freedom of animal welfare, which is the ability to express their natural behavior. In line with this, an experiment was also carried out on the effect of environmental enrichment on the behavior and growth indices of fish species. Some fish species were also exposed to some environmental structures such as aquatic plants, form of shelters, and substrates. At the end of the day, it was observed that the highest growth was found in fish that had good environmental enrichment. This promoted good growth in the fish. It reduced stress that could also affect the growth of the fish, and the fish were happy at the end of the day. So providing environmental structures for fish, making sure that the environment is looking natural, is another good way of maintaining a good environment for our fish. Another point that we also like to discuss about the environment of the fish is the stocking density. When the stocking density is too high, the fish will definitely not enjoy the environment in which they are living in. Now, we want to talk about the third one, which is the good health. You do not need to handle your fish when it is not necessary. Fish should not be handled in a rough manner. Fish should not be exposed to atmospheric air when they are not supposed to be transported. A fish that is exposed to atmospheric air will suffer from hypoxia. At the long run, the gill of the fish will be affected because you are exposing them to atmospheric air. Fish breathe with the aid of dissolved oxygen in water. So making them to breathe from the atmospheric air is going to affect their gill structure, it will affect their skin, and also damage their internal organ. Exposing fish to the atmospheric air can also increase their heartbeats and also reduce their energy level because they will try to devote more energy in trying to maintain homeostasis. So it is very essential to handle fish in order to maintain their welfare. As much as possible, even in the process of transporting fish from one medium to the other, they should always be transported in water medium and not exposing them to atmospheric air. So there is always a limit to handling if it is not properly done. Handling affects the welfare of the fish, and the welfare of fish is key to aquaculture sustainability that we are talking about. What are the limitations to fish sustainability? Like I just said, a lot of people are not aware about the right approach to maintaining fish welfare. There are several principles of fish welfare that a lot of people are not aware of. So poor awareness among our fish farmers is one major issue that is affecting this. Then some people do not have access to quality and affordable feed. What is the point of keeping a fish when you know you don't have enough feed to give that fish? Any fish that has been domesticated should have good rights to good quality feed and not just anything that will not meet their requirements. Also, when a fish is not handled properly, When the knowledge of how to handle fish is not in order, there could be disease outbreak, and several health management issues could become a challenge. So lack of welfare-focused policies and strategies are some of the limitations that affect fish sustainability. Pathways to sustainable fish welfare. What are those things that we can do to make sure that we maintain fish welfare? One of those is education and awareness. Thank God for this kind of webinar that we're having today. It will increase people's knowledge on how best to handle their fish. It will educate and increase their awareness for a change. A farmer that knows how to handle fish will definitely have a good product and output at the end of the day. It is not just putting all energy to ensure welfare. At the end of the day, there will always be a good harvest to have at the end of the day. And when you have a good growth, you have a good fish harvest, definitely the markets will be friendly. Marketing incentives for animals that should be provided for fish farmers that are able to have welfare-friendly products. Also, there is an emergence of adoption of technology in the aquaculture sector. We have several precision tools that can be used to make sure that the welfare of our fish are in order at each point in time. For instance, we have a technology now that will allow the farmer right from our phone that the water quality is not at the appropriate rate, or that it is time for feed, which is in a way trying to make sure that these fish species are exposed to good fish welfare at each point in time. The conclusion: fish welfare is not seen as two, and fish welfare and sustainability is not seen as different entities. They are interwoven. They are related to each other. And the future of aquaculture cannot be measured about how many fish we can produce, but how responsible can we take care of them? How much of healthy fish can we produce? When we have an healthy fish, when we put in all the effort to ensure healthy fish for the farmers, we'll have a good high growth rate. And also there will be a reduction in the food wastage in the rearing environment. When we are feeding a fish tank and the fish are not ready to take our feed because the environment is not fine, then indirectly we are wasting feed that's supposed to be used for the growth of the fish. So ensuring fish welfare will also make us to produce a stress-free fish. When we have a stress-free fish, there will be a decrease in disease outbreak within this rearing environment, and there will also be a decrease in the use of antibiotics. At the end of the day, we have a safer food fish chain. So it will also attract consumers because they will always trust what we are selling. So fish welfare should not be seen as a luxury. It is an interwoven thing. It is a two sides of the coin that is telling us the same thing. It is the 50-50 scenario. It is a foundation for sustainability. Ensuring fish welfare would go a long way in making sure that we achieve sustainable aquaculture in this sector. And lastly, if we fail the fish, then we fail in the industry. And when we protect the welfare of fish, then we'll have an ecological balance of fish for generations to come. These are my selected references. Let me acknowledge my research team for our work so far. It's been a privilege and a great opportunity to present here today again. And to the WTS, thank you very much for this beautiful opportunity. I appreciate this. And to my wonderful audience, thank you very much for joining this.